The Blast from Our Past Network.
Hey everyone, co-host Corey here. I just wanted to take a quick second and say thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. Without you, Podcasting After Dark would not be possible. If you would like to help the show grow, please consider signing up at patreon.com/podcastingafterdark. You can also support the show by purchasing one of our awesome t-shirt designs on our merch store at podcastingafterdark.com, or by picking up a copy of 7 Winters Alone by David Irons on paperback, hardback, or Kindle. Just search for 7 Winters Alone on Amazon or click on the link in the show notes. A free way to help out is to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Those reviews are huge for us and really helps get the show in front of new listeners. Again, thank you all so much for the love and support you've given us over these past few years. It really means the world to us.
Welcome to our Patreon exclusive interview series for Podcasting After Dark with your hosts, Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer. Tonight's interview is with the star of The Shawshank Redemption, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight, actor, musician, William Sadler.
William Sadler, thank you so much for being on Podcasting After Dark.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I got to tell you, not to make you blush, but when Corey and I were kind of running down your filmography and talking about some of the movies we wanted to bring up to you, we were like, yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. And then about 30 in, we're like, okay, we're going to have to limit this to
It's
Well,
just
how much time do you have?
all the time in the world.
But it's incredible how influential you've been to both of us growing up in so many varied roles. Zach did say, he was like, before we fired up, he's like, "Are you nervous?" And I'm like, "It's William freaking Sadler. Of course I'm nervous, But
well.
but my wife and I, and just as an example of how important you are to my life and my relationship with my wife, we bonded early on in our relationship over Demon Knight. So, I'm telling her that we're going to interview William Sadler, and she's like, "Demon Knight." I'm like, "Yes."
Holy cow. Well, I'm glad I could help there.
So thank you for that.
Fantastic. You bonded over Demon.
I'm sure a lot of people bonded over Demon Knight.
It was a fun movie.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was that one that, I mean, I always wanted to see you in a hero role up until that point. Obviously saw you in Die Hard and Die Hard 2 and what is it, naked yoga you're doing, or
Right.
The Tai Chi, yeah.
Tai Chi? Naked. I was naked.
Well, there's some major power in that. But then here you pop up in Demon Knight, and I'm like, okay, first of all, he's got cool looking hair, and second of all, he's got the leather jacket.
Boom.
And just
You
kicking
like
ass.
him already. He's wearing one black fingerless glove.
Yes.
I'm sorry, what's that for?
Yeah.
To cover up the tattoo on his hand that moves as the years go by.
So
No, I thought that was first of all, you should know that we shot that movie for like $1.98. I don't know why they were reluctant to spend money on the movie, but we shot it in an old airplane hangar in Sherman Oaks. We didn't use it. It didn't happen in a sound stage. It happened in this airplane hangar that had pigeons up in the rafters, and we had to get the pigeons to shut up every time they yelled action. They had to like shoo the pigeons away.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't an expensive movie to make, but God, it was just great fun, and they put together a terrific cast. Billy Zane, it was, I think it's the best thing he's ever done. He's really, really, really fun in that thing. And but CCH Pounder, Thomas Church, the list goes. The list you couldn't get
Dick Miller.
Jada Pinkett. Yeah, Dick Miller. It was just this really super fun, talented group of people, and it's a cool story. It was I thought it was a really cool story.
Cut! Cut, 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 cut! Oh, hello, kiddies. So glad you could join me. Your pal, the Crypt Keeper, has gone Hollywood in a big way. I'm directing my first feature film. Care for a little shriek preview? It stars Billy Zane from Dead Calm, William Sadler from Die Hard 2, and Jada Pinkett from Menace to Society. Ooh, I love those titles. And you'll love Demon Knight.
They're here! The demons are here!
And ladies, if you think Demon Knight is too gross and yucky,
Whoa!
thank you.
And it's a movie that holds up really well, even in 2021. Obviously, I think it's the practical effects and the Zach and I talk a lot of times on our podcast. These movies, like you can just tell everyone's having a good time on set, and it's like the energy is coming through. And I don't know what kind of a time you had on set, but it seems to us like the reason Demon Knight holds up so well is because you could feel the love that was put into the movie.
I think so. I mean, you have to be having a good time. I mean, it's one of if you're, I think that spills over for the audience. I really think it's contagious when you hear someone singing a song and they're into it and they're loving it. It just oozes out into the audience. It's never been fun. It's never fun to watch actors suffering and struggling and angry but it's a great. I know Ernest Dickerson was the director on that. Was just fantastic. And we did have a lot. I spent my whole childhood diving out of haylofts with a BB gun on the farm. So when we got around to shooting that, it was like, oh yeah, burst through the door and throw the knife, and it sticks in the alien's eyeballs. And, look out behind you! I've been practicing to do that since I was 8.
You were born to play that role.
I'm afraid so. Yes.
Perfect.
Up in Buffalo, New York.
Yes. Outside, south of Buffalo, Orchard Park, New York.
Oh, nice.
A great little town.
And yeah, jumping out of haylofts and playing an action hero. And
yeah,
did you always want to be an actor when you were growing up, or?
I don't know if I always wanted to be an actor. There was a long time there where I was in a folk band. I was in a garage band called the Kegs, and then we renamed it the Night Riders.
Ooh.
We played in the Battle of the Bands and played for high school dances and so on. We were cool.
What did you play?
I played rhythm guitar and sang,
nice.
Vocals and rhythm guitar. And any song that, every song that came out that had 3 chords in it, we just clobbered it. We knew, we played the hell out of those things. And then I sort of discovered acting my last year in high school. And it was, I did stand-up for a while.
Oh, wow.
I went around, I played the banjo and told jokes.
Like Steve Martin.
Kind of, yeah. Except he was really good at it.
I was setting you up.
I wasn't as good at it, and I didn't stick with it because I might have gotten better at it, but and I had a lot of early success with it. I was winning variety shows, and I played at the Grange Hall, and but then when I discovered acting, and it was, first of all, it was easier and more fun than for me. And it was, almost immediately I realized I kind of had a knack for this.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to discover the writing. You look at these plays. The second play I did was a Pulitzer Prize winning drama called The Subject Was Roses. And the writing is just spectacular. It's, moving and real and beautiful. And all of a sudden this like door opened up and I was like, holy, this world that I was not aware of. And I went to State University College at Geneseo and studied acting for 4 years. Then I got a scholarship to study acting at Cornell for 2 years.
Wow.
And then I went to New York and did theater for 11 years. And then I did my first movie. So that's my early career.
Was there ever a particular song you covered in your band that you really were into? You're like, this is my jam. This is the one.
Gloria, 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 because I could spell it. Gloria. Down, 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 boom, do, 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 do.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, Louie Louie.
Yeah.
We could keep Louie Louie going for half an hour. Kids dancing on the floor of the gymnasium with their shoes off. It was good times. It was really good times.
I grew up outside of Detroit, and as a little kid, and listened to a lot of Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels.
For sure.
But then I met Bob Seger when I was about 6 or 7 years old. I actually slept on his couch, and
yeah, that's wild.
Why
did you do that?
Well, so quick story. I told it last night to my son. My mom had a lot of male friends, and she was dating a guy who was a piano tuner, and he had to tune a lot of pianos. And one day he took me with him on a run, and I think we'd done 4 or 5 piano tunes that day. And he's like, I got to do one more up in Bloomfield Hills, and I was getting really tired. And I said, I'm just going to lay down on the couch. He goes, yeah, go ahead, lay down on this big leather couch. I didn't know whose house it was. All I remember is a little bit later, someone waking me up and going, time to wake up, little man. And I open my eyes and it's Bob Seger. And I go, are you Bob Seger? He goes, yes, I am. And I go, oh, cool.
Dude. Oh, how sweet.
And then he takes us to his softball game. He was on a softball team called the Silver Bullets, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I met him, got to, see him a few times. And I was like, Bob Seger was always a huge influence on me as a musician. And obviously, clearly,
Oh, he's fantastic.
So there you go. But back to Gloria and them, so.
Oh, we did 96 Tears too, which was great.
That's a great song.
I think it's got 4 chords in it, maybe.
Do you still play today? Do you still pick up the guitar? Great.
Yeah, no, I play more now than I ever have. I've been writing. I've always been writing songs, and doing them at coffee houses and
Oh, cool.
Cabaret sort of performances. I mean, they're folk. They're sort of, or I guess they're urban folk, or there's a lot of humor in them. I started doing a YouTube channel called William Sadler The Kitchen Tapes, and I would tell stories about the movies and then sing one of my songs. Sing and play one of my songs. And now I'm getting. It looks like I'm getting an album together. I've got so many songs. And I'm working with musicians virtually.
Yeah.
And putting together. I've got a sound engineer who's been helping me, and it's fantastic. It's I have 30 something songs that I've been playing for audiences live for years and years, and a bunch of new songs. But there are no great recordings of them. There are no good recordings. So, I have nothing to. It's not that I want to sell them. I'd love there to be a record or some way for other people to enjoy them. So that's what I'm doing.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's nice that even, with the quarantine and everything, with the technology that we have, we can still produce art, music, podcasts, all these creative endeavors, because we have the technology to do it.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. The guy that does, there's a guy named Todd Schroeder, is a wonderful piano player and a musical director. He's in China right now,
Yeah.
I was laying down piano tracks for one of my songs. I
That's
sent him
awesome.
the vocal. He does a piano track. My mixer, who lives in Glendale now, puts them together. We send it back to Todd in China. He says, "Oh, wait a minute. Let me fiddle with the ending." It just keeps going back and forth, but it's really, really fun, and I've never heard them. I get the biggest kick out of hearing them in some form that's I've never recorded them except, for myself on a little cassette. So they're I have only ever had really funky live performance recordings um, of a lot of these songs. So it's going to be fun.
Well, people are going to look back on this 20 years from now and say, this is what the future is going to look like. And where 20 years prior to this, Neil Young was like saying, "Oh, we got to record this in a barn, or we got to do it the real way." Now, 20 years from now, they're going to say, "Oh, we got to record this in a studio, the old-fashioned way."
Yeah.
I would so love to sit face. I used to work with this piano player face to face. A couple of the songs I would go to his studio in Los Angeles, and we'd work it out face to face.
Yeah, it's
Um,
different. It's so much better.
Wow, is it different?
Yeah.
It's this is. I would really love to get into a studio with a bunch of people and just create.
That would be wonderful.
Something
One of these
joyous.
days, right?
Yeah, one of these days. I already got my first vaccine shot, so
Oh, congrats.
Nice. Congratulations.
I'm halfway there.
Yeah.
How are you? Any side effects or anything like that?
Oh no, not that I'm aware of. I'm not.
You
No,
got a
I
little
haven't had
Quato on your neck there.
I haven't had any side effects whatsoever, except my
great.
arm was sore for like half a day, and then it went away.
I'm sure you felt worse in the movie Trespass when you were bouncing around and whatnot.
Oh dear.
That's a rough segue, but
Walter Hill. That was again, that's another one of those films where I felt like I'd been rehearsing for it in the barn, diving out of the hayloft with the BB gun and come up
Totally.
shooting. It was precisely that, but Walter Hill was great fun to work with. He directed me in the first episode of Tales from the Crypt.
Yep.
The Man Who Was Death,
Mhm.
the name of the episode, and we hit it off. It was, it was the first opportunity I had in Los Angeles to show people something, and to really, strut my stuff, I guess. I show some acting chops, and almost immediately, Joel Silver cast me in Die Hard 2. Right after that, it was like, boom. And then Frank Darabont was one of the writers on Tales from the Crypt, came up to me and said, "I'm going to do this movie called Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption.
Yep.
And I'd like you to be in it." And then, of course, I did The Green Mile and the Mist with him and Trespass with Walter. It was like this whole that episode, that one episode of Tales from the Crypt just sort of opened the door for me.
How cool is that? Is that something where you just have a connection with the director and he says something like, "Well, I want to work with you again someday," and he has you in mind for a project? Or how does that work?
I don't know. When you're directing, you're putting a lot of responsibility on the shoulders of the people you cast.
Yeah.
And it's a real nervous situation if you're a director and you put the wrong person in that role. This project that you love and you've been working on for 6 months or a year or 5 years or whatever, and suddenly he's got the right face, but there's the wrong aura and it's not cooking. And
Yeah.
casting casting is, 85 or 90% of the show. You put the right people in those roles, and your job as a director is easy.
Yeah.
They get it, and they'll lift it off the page and make it sing. And when you find people that you can work with, that you have a relationship with, it's easy to talk to them. They'll try things. You want them to try, do it this way. They'll do it that, sure, I'll give it a try. But you're on the same page, and it's you feel like you can trust your piece in their hands. Then you go to them again and again. Frank Darabont did that with he has sort of had this rep company for a while that
Yeah.
there was this, you'd see the same faces in his movies over and over again. And that's why, because you know them. He knew what he was going to get before he started rolling camera.
And I love that he's a fan of film. We had Mark Ralston on our show a little while back, and he recanted a story with us, or brought up a story from a time when Frank approached him and said, "I'm a big Aliens fan. Can you sign my Aliens poster?"
Frank used to do this thing in Los Angeles where he's like you said, he's a big film nut, and he would set up screenings and invite friends to see these wonderful movies. One of my favorite, I saw several of them, but the one I remember that I had the most fun at was Sunset Boulevard.
Oh, yeah.
He set up a screening of Sunset Boulevard at the Egyptian Theater on Hollywood Boulevard, which is this great old, Egyptian revival theater. Beautiful, beautiful movie theater.
Beautiful.
And then he brought Billy Wilder to the screening.
Wow.
The director. And it was just this night,
Yeah.
It was a celebration of the movie, which no one had seen on a big screen in 50 years or something.
Yeah.
And it was a tip of the hat to the guy who created it. It was really wonderful. It was just, and he would do that again. He did it with Space Odyssey, 2001 Space Odyssey. Yeah. Showed it on a huge screen. I mean, I don't even know. It was at the Universal Theater, just the biggest screen I've ever seen, with enormous sound system, and
bigger than the Cinerama Dome on Sunset.
Bigger than that, I think.
Wow, cool.
Well, I don't know. What do I know? I'm just an actor.
Well, I was going to say, you talk about seeing these memorable classic films on screen for the first time, versus VHS or a DVD or whatever. And I was able to do that with Shawshank was it the Directors Guild or the Writers Guild? It was like the 25th anniversary screening. And I remember seeing it on screen for the first time, because when it had come out, I just missed it in the theater. And it was one of those moments where I thought, yeah, this is a modern day classic. You are a part of a modern day classic. Yeah. Your line of, I'll never say Alexander Dumas the same way.
Dumbass. Dumbass. I know. I was like, although, to be honest, we all knew it was a strong script. It was a really strong script. And in fact, it went through a process before it got made. I know some of these stories have been around for a while, but Tom Cruise was being talked about to play the Tim Robbins role.
Yeah.
And I guess they did table reads with him. And I think he was reluctant to work with Frank, because Frank had never directed. I think he did one horror movie or something before.
He did The Blob. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's it. And Frank wasn't anxious to work with Tom Cruise in that role. He didn't. He had a different vision for the thing, and I guess we all knew that it was a really strong story. But then it opened and it closed. Like 2 weeks later,
Yeah.
it went, and
Yeah.
part of it was the title.
Yeah.
The title is just awful. I mean, no one knows what a Shawshank at the time. No one knew, it's like an Indian name or something.
Mhm.
And it's redemption sounds religious, and it's a prison movie, and it's long.
Kind of had everything going against it.
It was like hitting all the notes,
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go see that one. And then it was nominated for all the Academy Awards. They brought it back out into the theaters, and yeah, I love that. I get stuck on it when I'm flipping around.
I was going to say, it's like one of those movies now, even though it didn't have a strong reception when it first came out, now it sits in a small pocket of films that everyone says, like Jaws, if it's on TV, I'm going to watch it. Shawshank Redemption, if I'm flipping channels and I land on it, nothing can stop me from watching it. Even if I own it, I'm going to watch it on TV. And there's only like a handful of movies that we, as an entire society, agree in Shawshank and Jaws.
Wow. Yeah, I know.
It's a great movie. It's a damn near flawless film.
Well, I'd say so many of your movies were that way to me, to both of us.
I'd say Demon Knight is a damn near flawless film too.
Well, yeah, and going back to that really quick with Demon Knight, that was the first film, the first Tales from the Crypt movie I think they put out, right? Based on the HBO series.
It was I think it was supposed to be a trilogy. There were supposed to be 3 movies. Bordello of Blood.
Yeah.
Right, Demon Knight, Bordello of Blood, and another one.
Yeah.
That they ended up not making at all. But that's another one. That's another one that kind of came out. It did okay in the movie theaters, and then it just sort of disappeared. I didn't see it again for 20 years or something. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. Maybe it was playing on some network that I wasn't watching, but and then it had, but people found it, and it became this sort of cult, a classic of that genre, which is
you are a part of so many of those cult classic movies. I'm just thinking about also going back to Trespass. That film I think has grown in popularity over time, specifically with the phenomenal cast it had, and being able to, you working obviously across from Bill Paxton, who is, rest in peace, just such a wonderful actor, and you guys had such a great camaraderie in that film up until a point, obviously.
No, that was great fun to make.
The old guy was confessing. You remember what he said?
Who we stole from Christ? I hit it.
It's gold, isn't it? Solid gold.
I never told to take it.
This, my friend, is a treasure map to this desolate place.
We're gonna find that gold, Vince. I can smell it.
Some come to take what is not theirs. Others to settle a score.
Set it up for Saturday. I want to do it someplace way out where nobody is, off the track.
Go!
In this world, when desperate men meet.
We don't want no trouble, we just want my brother back.
You come any closer, he's a dead man!
Loyalty is the first thing to die.
You need to stop thinking with your trigger finger and use your brain. You're gonna get my brother killed. I'm thinking seriously, man. Somebody else needs to take over.
And it's every man for himself.
The police!
No, listen, we don't need them.
You're crazy. Hey, move!
Now, if that loot is here, buddy, I want it.
Now, you want to know why they didn't signal the police? Because they found something.
Bill Paxton.
Damn it, Don, we're getting in awful deep.
Ice-T.
We're not playing anymore out here. We're past the point of no return.
William Sadler.
Truth is, Vince, I don't see any way we're gonna get out of here quiet.
And Ice Cube.
It's all about survival. It's all about getting yours.
When you cross the line, sometimes there's no way back.
What the hell are you white boys doing up here anyway?
Gold. It's all about gold.
Trespass.
really rough and tumble, you know.
It seemed really rough and tumble.
Was, yeah,
and that's Walter Hill's style.
And Walter's great. Yeah, Walter's the best at that stuff. He was. He said early on that you know how some directors, when you're setting, you're in this. We're all trapped in this big building, this factory, and some directors would worry that, well, we just saw them come down this hallway and go in that door. We have to keep the geography in mind, where everybody is, and the thing. And Walter just said, "Screw that. I'm not I'm not going to pay any attention to the geography at all. It just doesn't matter." And he was, you know, you'd get directions like, "Bill, just hit him harder." Yeah, he wore these little red glasses, and you just hear this voice from behind the camera. "Yeah, just let him have it." Let's go again. And then, you know, you finish the scene, and there's never any, "That's great, you know, good job," nothing like that. It was just, "All right, we're on the wrong set. Let's go." And we're like, you know, I guess he got what he wanted. But he was not just a director; he was a writer and an editor.
Yes,
as well. So he would say things like, you know, put your hand on the doorknob. Now look to the left. "All right, I got it. We're on the wrong set." And it was like, because he knew what he needed. He knew what he didn't need. You know, he was already cutting it together in his head.
Wow.
There's one of my favorite moments in that, in the filming of it, and it works in the movie too. Was these police cars pull up, and I think or Bill Paxton thinks we're being rescued.
Yeah.
But they're not cops. We're being faked out. We're being drawn out into the open so we can be killed. And he does this thing. He's looking out the window down at the police cars, and he says, Don, look. And he turns his head away from the window to call for me. And in the second that he turns his head away, there's a guy sitting next to the camera lens, a special effects man with an air rifle, who fires a ball bearing at the window and hits. And when Bill turns back, the hole in the window is between his eyes. And it happens like that. He turns away and then comes back to the window. And in that second that his head was away, this guy puts a hole in the window where his brain was. And in a split second later, I tackle him out of the way before the whole window explodes in gunshots.
Yeah.
But it was all practical.
That's amazing.
There's not I guess you could do it with computers now, but
that would probably be CGI today. Yeah, with the actor too close to that.
Wow. No, they had this guy who, all the way through the movie, he was sitting next to the camera shooting at us with.
Wow.
He had zirconium hits, and he had dust balls, and he had steel ball bearings. I think he was also the guy who did the Patrick Swayze in the Roadhouse
okay
movies, and like Swayze's running along the top of a bar, and he's hitting the ketchup bottle and the beer bottle and the glass, and following him down the.
So he's like a sharpshooter by trade, then.
Yeah, I think he used to work for the CIA.
Wow. Good Lord.
This giant 400-pound guy was just sitting there with a rifle right next to the lens, like as close as you could be to the lens, and just. So Paxton and I would dive behind a table, and this guy would pepper the table with
oh my God.
And not hit us ever, which was really good.
He's like, everyone thinks Elvis died of a heart attack.
Oh
No.
man,
me.
I should dig up that guy's name. He was memorable. He was great. Paxton turns his head away and goes, "Don!" and went like that. Oh fuck! and I tackle him out of the shot and.
Well, and it's awesome too, because here you are, I know, years later, you're in VFW, and that is a movie. By the way, I watched that for the second time last night to kind of like, let me just rewatch it. That
Yeah.
movie's so much fun. Within like the community that we inhabit, the horror movie genre, everyone freaking loves VFW. It's like on so many people's lists, you know, and it's such a fun movie. But here you are, kicking so much ass in that movie with a bunch of other amazing actors with you. Wow, what an awesome film that was. Was that fun to work on?
VFW was it was more fun than it should have been. We shot the whole thing in like 18 days. And it was another one of those that was, cost $1.98 to shoot. Shot it all in a VFW post in Texas. But the camaraderie that we actors had, we had all worked together before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd worked with Steve Lang in a couple of, we did Shakespeare in the Park together back in 76.
Wow.
We go way the hell back.
Go back to those 8 tracks.
I did an off-Broadway play with David Patrick Kelly about John Lennon back in, I don't know what it was, 78 or
Wow.
79 or something like that.
Anyway,
Anyway,
fellow musician.
yeah, wonderful. But to collect all of us bums together and then lock us in a room and have us fight our way out. Marty Cove, I did a TV show with him, something about Mars years ago.
Was it Roswell or no, not
And it was like just the best. It was so fun to get this group of guys together who, I don't know, we've all fought our way out of something or other in other movies.
Yeah.
And we all genuinely liked each other. It was, we were cracking each other up and ad-libbing and looking out for each other. And we all shared the same trailer to get dressed in. It was like, you got to really like people
to work to do.
You know what I mean? There was no, I need my own trailer. I need special this or that. We all sort of said, okay, we're in this trench together. Let's see if we can get. But it was really fun to film, and that was part of the thing. There's a tremendous respect and love for each other as actors already, and when you put us together in that situation, I think some of that spilled over on them. It must have spilled over in the film.
That's the X factor that we sort of talk about. It's
Yeah.
when you can tell that everyone behind the cameras were just having a good time, or at least respecting each other. And I think that's what's going to make VFW 20 years from now. People are still going to be watching that movie, and it won't disappear. It's a great movie. And I think it's because of that love that you guys had.
I hope you're right. That would be fun.
I think so too. That we're in such an interesting nostalgic age right now with so many new directors, new filmmakers appreciating actors from the 80s, actors from the 90s, and wanting that quality, where versus 10, 15 years ago, we were doing the same with people from the 60s and the 70s. And now there's this idea of like, we're going to put these people in who can act their ass off, and you look like you're having a great time, and clearly you are. And I think that's one of the reasons why we enjoy your work so much, because that comes across every time, whether you are a total jerk in a movie that, you want to get see taken out by the good guy, or you're the good guy who's taking out the bad guy. I think that's what we love about you. We feel your energy. Obviously what you're saying to us right now, it's so true. Like, being in that barn as a kid, jumping off the hayloft, and you're getting to do it in 2021.
It's the same. It's the same fun. It's the same thrill. It's like, look out behind you. I gotta, get him over here. Will it be all right? I can't tell you. I wasted so many days as a kid. My friend down the road when I was a little kid, his name was John Messer, and I've lost track of him now. I don't have any idea where John lives or if he even still is around. But he had a chicken coop that it was this small wooden building about 10 by 10 by 10, and it had one little window, and we painted numbers on mayonnaise jar lids and nailed them all over the wall around that window, and we sat on the floor, on the dirt floor, and flew this spaceship. We went to distant planets together, and using these dials to steer the ship, and then we'd step out of the chicken coop with our BB guns and pretend that there was no gravity, so we would just like float. Awesome. It would be a great moment in a film. I have such a strong memory of this. These two little kids floating around, and then his mom would call, and it was lunchtime.
Back to reality.
Yeah.
It actually sounds like a perfect setup for a film where the two characters are now buddies in space, and
yeah,
it all started from there,
But I heard somewhere, somebody wise once said, if you want to figure out what to do with your life, go back and look at what it was that you found exciting when you were 10.
Yeah.
What did you really, really love when you were 8 and 9 and 10? And I guess that's what it is. I guess that's what I did.
I love that. I love that. I my son being 6 right now, he's at a very crucial age of like just enjoying. I want him to enjoy life as much as possible and have as much fun and play. Right. And I was a kindergarten teacher for 15 years and hung up my blue smock or whatever you want to say, and I never wore one. But I became a voice actor, and then got into podcasting with my buddy Corey, and obviously this has been a pleasure. And here, my son sees me every day having so much fun, and he says, and I draw every day too. I love to just draw, and that's all he does is he plays with his toys, physical toys, not a video game.
Right.
And draws every day, and there's something so beautiful about that it's so universal, right? We can all relate to picking up a crayon and drawing with something, or picking up a stick and pretending it's a
lightsaber.
Sword.
Yeah, it's a lightsaber, it's a fishing pole, it's that imagination play is just, it's priceless, I think.
And you're still doing it today. I mean, I recently watched, last year, Bill and Ted Face the Music, and I watched it with my wife, and it was, it was, what I loved about it was such a love letter. It was such a like, things are going to be okay. We're going to get through this. And it was so appropriate for what is going on in the world right now. It was perfect timing for that movie.
And the funny thing is that we shot it before the pandemic. There was no pandemic. There was, No, I thought that film came out really, really well. I thought they tied up a lot of loose ends, and I couldn't believe it had been 30 years since we had.
I know.
Wait any longer, you're gonna,
death will be death.
And you'll be sorry. You're gonna be sorry. Based out of 3. But it was, it's just joyful. It was
Yeah.
really, really fun. It was great fun to get back together. Put on the, I mean, the robes all seemed heavier this time. And I'm not, I mean, I'm not, I'm I'm a bit older now, but, but the character was still there. It was sort of like I pulled
He
a
was.
cork out of a bottle and he was like, "Oh, hello. I was waiting for you to come in." It's like, boop. He never went away. And the really fun thing about playing that guy, is that he's such a complete foreign person to me, that once we're in the makeup and the robes and once I'm in the character, I can't shut him up. He just sort of exists on his own, and he doesn't care. He doesn't really care what you wrote in the script. You know, if I have to say something else, he will.
Well, and he's such an iconic character too at this point. Like, I mean, everybody knows him, you know? He's so iconic.
Why is it, maybe it's nice to think that Death is he's a nice what I thought was really brilliant about the first movie, about Bogus Journey, was when you first see Death, he's terrifying. They've been murdered. They're dead. And they meet this figure, and he's the same figure that, oh crap, he's, the robes, the scythe. He's this scary figure. And then of course, as the games get going and he starts to lose one game after another, all of that just crumbles, and he becomes this petulant, insecure, sore loser. It all just evaporates, and he's not this scary dude anymore. He's like, he's somebody that we all know. We can all relate to. And then by the end of the movie, he wants to be in the band.
Yeah.
He wants, what about my butt? I work out all the time. What about me? He just wants to be one of the guys, and it's sweet. So he has this really, he makes this great journey.
Well, the thing about, and not to get too deep, but Death is like the dark. It's just there. It's not the monster. It's just the thing. It's the thing. There's nothing to fear about the actual thing, because once you're there, that's it.
I don't think you need to be afraid then.
Hey,
Yeah.
Seasons don't fear the Reaper, right?
Right.
Hey, nice.
That was
Welcome to Music After Dark.
That was my one musical contribution to the conversation.
Well, don't fear the Reaper.
Yeah.
When Bogus Journey came out in '91, they executed a guy in California named Robert Alton Harris. And Robert Alton Harris, I don't know what he did, but they did. His last words, the warden read his last words, and his last words were, "You might be a king or a little street sweeper, but sooner or later you dance with the Reaper," which was the Reaper rap from Bogus Journey. And as it turns out, I had added that little bit to, they had written a rap song that I couldn't quite make it make sense. I asked them if I could take a shot at it. So I wrote this little, verse, and the press started calling and saying, did you know that this guy who was executed used your line as the last words of his whole life? And how does that make you feel? And I said, well, I hate to lose a fan under any circumstances, but you're gonna kill him. I thought, but I thought if I knew they were going to be his last words, I would have worked on it longer. I would have tried to come up with something pithy. But
it's better to burn out than fade away. I don't know.
Something.
Hey, that's a crazy story.
But you never know who's listening. That's the thing about making movies or TV shows is you do these performances and then you go home and you don't, it goes out. It goes out and people in Ohio are watching it and people in Kansas are watching it and they're having whatever reactions they're having. And it's one of the things I guess that the internet is fun for because you can hear from those folks.
Yep. Like us.
But you never do know how they're gonna, we did the game sequence in Bogus Journey and then got in our cars and went home.
Yeah.
What'd you do? Or we finished Shawshank and we all went home.
Yeah.
And it goes on and has a life and does what it's, you never really see how it's going to land.
Was there ever a role for you where you're like, I hope this is the one, or have there been a few where you go, this is the one that I want to be remembered for 40 years from now or whatever?
Wow. No, I don't know that I don't know that I've played that role yet.
I like that yet.
Yeah, no, I've got a couple left in me.
And you got quite a few more.
I was going to say VFW proves you have a lot more than a couple left in you.
I have a couple left in me, but I don't know that I'm very proud of what the things that we've left along the way that people have enjoyed over the years, but how do I want to be remembered? I'll probably be remembered for the Reaper. That'll
Look, you brought up Martin Kove in VFW, and I mean,
he's having a rebirth here,
which is beautiful.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity. I was at a Passover event in years ago on Wilshire in LA, and he was the guest speaker.
There you go.
Speaking about it, and so he comes up on the POTUS or whatever and starts speaking, and I lean over to my wife, now ex-wife at the time, and I said, that's Martin Kove, and she's like, and I go, yeah, from Cobra Kai or from Karate Kid,
Yeah.
And I started rattling, and he started speaking about the love of his son, and it was very emotional, and it was a very beautiful speech that he gave, and
Wow.
and Lainey Kazan was there as well, and she gave a really wonderful speech, but it was so wonderful to see how joyful he was for his child, and
Jesse.
and then to know, obviously you separate the character from the performer, and but who would have known that so many years later he would have been brought back as that character, kind of in the same way you got brought back as the Reaper, in this
Right.
memorable way, and it's so wonderful to see that again.
Well, Marty's a lovely guy. I mean, he's a really these are all really nice people. That group in VFW, and we've all played such awful badass mother. Holy Christ.
Right.
I mean, at one time or another, you've wanted to kill all of us.
Yeah.
But we'd be covered with blood, and we'd fighting off these evil doers coming through the door, and they'd cut, and Marty would say, "You want?" He kept bringing me food at the hotel and inviting me up to have a Seder with him, which was lovely. It was like,
it is. Seders are lovely.
Yeah, no, they're beautiful, but we're all kind of stuck in this hotel, ordering takeout something, whatever. And he had a little kitchen, and he would invite me up to have. He sent down a thing of matzos.
Were they chocolate covered? Because
No,
otherwise they're pretty terrible.
They were just plain.
Oh boy.
He's just just plain lovely guy. He's,
Yeah.
he's a sweetheart, and I'm always struck by, you know, Steve Lang's one of the nicest guys I know. You know, a family man and a great guy and a fun, self-deprecating. And then they yell action, and he's like, tough as nails. They're not coming in.
It always seems like the nicest guys play like the horrible characters, because even Mark Ralston just was nothing like his character in Shawshank Redemption. I know, right?
If he was, he would never work again. I mean,
yeah, he told us, he was like, my son wanted to see it when he was like 13 or something, and he was like, I just had to sit my son down and said, look, just understand that this character is nothing like your father at all.
I'm not like that
at all.
I know. He's a terrific actor though. That was like Clancy Brown, Clancy's nothing like that. None of us are. But if you can't be James Bond, be Dr. No,
My son tends to like the villains more than the heroes because they're more colorful.
Everyone likes Darth Vader, right? Everyone loved Darth Vader growing up. It's awesome. They get the coolest costumes,
They get the coolest costumes. They do. Evildoers get to do whatever the hell they want too. There's no rules.
Yeah.
You can, if you're the good guy, you got to be honest. You got to be, there are things you can't do because you're the good guy. I think it was the second movie I ever did was Hard to Kill with Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
And it had a different ending at one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I played Vernon Trent. And there's a moment at the end where he's hunted me down and he knocked my teeth with his shotgun, and he's got a shotgun on me, and I take a swing at him. And the way the original film ended, which he wrote, was I'm wearing a white bathrobe, and he throws me in the fireplace, and I burn to death. He holds me there while I burn to death. And I guess Warner Brothers looked at it and said, Steven, you're the hero. You can't do that. He's unarmed. He's wearing he's wearing a white bathrobe. You can't just hold him in the fire and burn him to death. So we went back and we had to shoot a different ending where I get dragged off, but in handcuffs or something.
Steven Seagal is Mason Storm, a cop working undercover until his cover was blown.
Whoever that is, I don't want him to get an hour older.
They thought they'd seen the last of him. But Mason Storm is hard to kill. Now,
he's toast, you understand?
The climate is right.
We'll get him, buddy.
For revenge.
Every one of them. Think you better dial 911.
Mason Storm is about to hit back.
That wasn't the time. Now's the time.
We are going to put an end to violence, and you can take that to the bank.
Steven Seagal is hard to kill.
Take that to the bank.
Funny story. We got there to shoot that new ending, and Bruce Malmuth, the director, and Steven Seagal they'd had a kind of a big falling out. They weren't really talking to each other at that point. But they got us all back together. I'm standing there on the set. We're ready to rehearse, and no one had decided what happens between when I take a swing at him with a fireplace poker and when I get dragged off in handcuffs.
Okay.
And Bruce Malmuth, the director, said, well, I think it should be something really, I think you should, kick him in the balls and then smash his face against the floor and then rip his arm off and beat him to death. And Seagal is standing there saying, "No, I think I should pull his throat out through his mouth and break his back over my knee." And I'm standing there once again in a white bathrobe, just listening to these two guys going, Jesus Christ. They don't know. They got in a fight and Seagal walks away. He goes back to his trailer.
Oh gosh.
They've spent like $500,000 to shoot this one day. For some ridiculous amount of money. And I thought, I had this idea. He's still got that little shotgun, the sawed-off shotgun. And I remembered a scene, I think it's in Missouri Breaks, or it's either in Missouri Breaks or Oklahoma Crude, where someone holds the shotgun under I think it's Jack Palance's net chin, and then urinates all over his legs, right? And it's the most it's just humiliating. And you see the look on his face like, it was just this burned in moment.
Yeah, it's great.
And I said to Malmuth and the producer, I said, what if Steven, he's got that shotgun and it's under my chin and we see it go down out of frame, but the camera stays up here and you see me going, hey, come on. No, please don't. No, like he's going to shoot my Johnson off. And then boom. And I look down and it's still there. And then he can say something like, I don't know how I could miss. It must be smaller than I thought. It's like, some awful, embarrassing, humiliating bullshit. And the producers loved it. And Malmuth loved it. But then they said, if we tell Steven that story, if we tell Steven that he's not going to want to do it because it's coming from us, would you go and tell him? So I went to Seagal's trailer and I told him this. I said, this was an idea. And he said, that's great. Let's shoot it. and that was it. So he didn't kick me in the balls or, break me in half or
rip your throat out through your mouth.
Through my mouth.
And I love how you're just standing there listening to two people talk about how they're going to dismember you, and you're like, okay.
For 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
In a bathrobe.
Yeah, and they're saying, well, it's got to be humiliating. You got to, grab his tongue and smash his face with your knee. And I'm like, Jesus, guys, what are you doing?
It wasn't that bad of a guy.
I came up with a solution
that is quite possibly one of the greatest stories I think I've ever heard.
Nobody wanted to tell him because he wouldn't like it if it came from Bruce.
But he respected you.
He respected me.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He did. He was always first minute I was on the set. There's a hot tub scene with a girl, a naked woman with me in a hot tub. And
yeah.
The very first thing said to me, I have so many Steven Seagal stories.
Welcome to Steven Seagal After Dark.
This isn't an X-ray.
No, but you can swear or whatever. He
said, Bill, where do you see the fucking piece of pussy I get in the hot tub with you? Oh my God. I'm like, oh, you smoothie, you.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Steven. Jesus. And we were shooting one day. We were shooting at the LA Zoo, and we were at the edge of there's a moat. And on the other side there's a fence and then a moat. And on the other side of the moat, there were all of these chimps lined up, like watching us film. And we got halfway through the scene, like the first take or something. And one of the camera guys yells, incoming! And all of a sudden it's raining chimp shit.
Oh, no.
They had all crapped in their hands and thrown it at the same time. And it was like,
Oh.
boom, boom, boom. And I thought, wow, everyone's a critic. God damn it. It's just a movie, guys. Come on. So
what song is that a setup for on your
I don't.
You got to write a song about that.
That's gonna be a bonus track right there.
Coming on the show and telling us stories upon stories. I mean, we're honored, sincerely. I know you laugh, but it's true. Like, you've shaped our youth and our love of film, and I think you just ratcheted up a few more notches because of how much you love the movies that you've done. I know for a fact I'm gonna watch Hard Target again tonight with a different perspective.
We mean Hard to Kill.
Or sorry, Hard to Kill. Not Hard Target. Different kung fu fighting action hero.
But yeah, no, and to reiterate what Zach said, honestly, this was just a huge honor for both of us, and it's amazing. And thank you from the bottom of our hearts just for giving us amazing characters, and characters that, you know, even the evil ones, you know, we just love to watch, and then the good ones we love to root for. And at the end of the day, it's, you know, it's you, we're rooting for you. And VFW kicks so much ass, and I want to see you kick more ass in the future.
Okay.
You're like, yes, me too.
As soon as I get that second vaccine shot, I think
right. It should be pretty soon, right? You're due for it.
Yeah. I've been turning stuff down lately, which isn't like me. I enjoy this. I really like I like what I do. I like my acting. I'm having more fun doing it these days than I think I ever was, even 20, 30 years ago. I used to fuss and fret over it and worry about it and so on. And now I'm just let her rip. You know?
I love that. Well, so, you got to know that the response when we told our Instagram followers and whatnot that we were going to be talking to you, which is huge, that, you know, the response was gigantic. People talking about Deep Space, you know, Star Trek, and talking about Solo. And it's just like, you know, you got to talk about Solo and Star Trek. And it's like, well,
shoot. I know. I get amazed when I think there's so many of them out there. Wow.
And Star Trek is such
naked Tai Chi.
Naked Tai Chi.
But we didn't even get into Star Trek. But like, you know, your character is huge in that franchise. Like, it was a very pivotal character, and when it started, it's just like, wow, your career is absolutely amazing.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you very much.
And we're honored to have you. So
this has been great fun. Thank you.
Any idea when your music might be coming out?
Gosh, it's still in progress.
Okay.
It'll be along. You can check out the Kitchen Tapes.
Yeah, that's on YouTube, you said?
On YouTube, yeah. I don't know how many songs I've got on there now, but they're just me with a guitar, and it's playing in front of a iPad. So the quality's not spectacular, but that's what's fun about the recordings that I'm doing now. They're much better.
I'll put a link in the show notes to the YouTube channel for you, so people can find it that way. But the interesting thing is, I think with you said the quality being lower, I think people actually like that. It makes it feel more candid and real, you know. But that being said, cool. We're all excited for the album, though.
There's plenty of low quality. We have low quality in abundance.
We're candid in abundance.
Candid low quality that's my middle name.
When the A track comes out of it.
Yes.
Thank you so much, William, for being on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There's a story they tell of a boy who fell while flying too close to the sun. Like a moth to a fire, he kept going higher. It was having so much fun. And out there all alone, he felt like a stone. The legend of Icarus begun. And I know that it said the sweet young lad had to fall, such a nasty fall. But I think it's remarkable that boy could fly at all. Was a man loved a lady, about drove him crazy.
Thank you for listening to Podcasting After Dark's exclusive interview series with William Sadler. And, as always, thank you for your support.
Imagine being one of the last people on Earth, being trapped alone with something not human, something always watching, something always waiting. What would you do? Where would you run? Where would you hide if you were haunted for 7 winters alone?
Podcasting After Dark presents 7 Winters Alone, a dystopian haunted house story by David Irons.
Available now in paperback and ebook.